Welcome on in to the Full Court Press. Jason Walker here with Eric Frandsen on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM The Fan. Streaming online at 1069thefan.com and on the 1069 The Fan mobile app. And streaming online on YouTube. The Fan KLGN is where you can check out video streams of our show. If you're tired of just listening to us, if you want to see this beautiful mug, also myself, here on YouTube. Is it darker in here today? I'm looking at myself on the screen and I look like I'm in slightly darker light than you.
Oh,
like your side looks like it's brightly lit.
I'm just beaming with light, Jason.
Eric had a really fun day yesterday, so he's just absolutely beaming.
Oh, I'm feeling a lot better today.
Yeah. So a few things to go over. We got hopefully our final time talking about the Mountain West versus Pac-12 lawsuit, but some big news. Finally got some reports of financials. I was a little skeptical we would get them, but we got them very quickly. Reported by Mark Ziegler of the San Diego Union Tribune. Excellent reporting there. From him, there's some people wanted to throw down as to whether or not those numbers are accurate, but we'll go over them right at the start here. That's where we're going to start things off. Although I forgot to go grab the sheet that I had his article printed out on.
I also printed it, and I did not bring it in with me.
Eric, do you want to go really quickly grab them off the printer?
Are they both on the printer?
Yeah, they might both be on the printer.
I will be right back.
Okay, we're gonna put that on pause here. We won't take a break. We'll just isolate on me. Both of us managed to forget our notes for today. That's how prepared we are here on the Full Court Press. But I'll go over the order of the day for today's show. Watch list season has fully begun. I know we had one of our texters on the Young Power Sports Logan text line note that Jimmy Liston was named to one of the preseason watch lists, the Outland Trophy. Jimmy Liston actually made another watch list. We'll talk about that at the top of the second hour, although he's not the only Aggie to make a preseason watch list. Also, the Pac-12's, I guess their version of a preseason all Pac-12 team. It's an impact list or a preseason impact list. 5 players per team in football. I think they're going to be doing something similar to some of these other sports. But yeah, it'll be it's a preseason impact list, kind of a little different, a little more egalitarian. But we'll go over that. We'll also play back a couple more interviews. We have so much video content from the Utah State Media Day. We just can't fit that all into like one show, so we've spread it over 3 shows now. We'll play back interviews with Eli Wood, the wide receiver for the Aggies, and Brevin Hamblin, who was one of the players on the Pac-12 preseason impact list. We've also got fun games, Pick Six, and the hottest game show in sports radio, Hot Take or Not a Take.
Yes, let's go.
So now that Eric has very graciously helped me out by getting the notes that I've left on the printer. You had to go to 2 different printers? Because mine was on the other printer.
Because I went and I got mine. I'm like, wait, that's just mine. And Jason usually prints the other printer, so...
For a while, I was printing at the one because the other one wasn't working, but now I've gone back to the old printer because it started working again. If you want to send in any of your thoughts to the Young Power Sports of Logan text line, you can text 435-339-0321, 1818. Texting and saying, hey, did you guys hear the legal conversation is finally over? You never have to talk about legal stuff ever again. Congrats.
Oh, I hope that's true.
I hope so too. Eric never told me that I had to read legal documents as part of this job, and I'm going to sue him over it.
Yeah, that's right.
Hopefully this will be the last day we have to talk about legal stuff. Of course, with lawsuits with, we don't really have to dive deep into the lawsuits with transfer portal stuff. But as far as big Pac-12 lawsuits, maybe we'll have to touch on the Blake Anderson lawsuit once someday. But ideally, we won't have to jump into too many more lawsuits in the near future. But the one between the Pac-12 and the Mountain West, this fiery legal battle between the two conferences, the Pac-12 schools, or the former Mountain West schools went to the Pac-12, were suing The Mountain West was suing the Pac-12. I think there were countersuits involved in there with some of the schools suing the Mountain West back. All over essentially $155 million in total fees, both departure fees. What was the term for it again?
Exit fees.
Exit fees. That's the word I was looking for.
Poaching fees.
And poaching fees, which aren't poaching fees according to the Mountain West, the contract, but essentially poaching penalties, which amounted to about $100 million, and then about 50, or was it the other way around? I think $55 million in poaching penalty is roughly $100 million in exit fees, $20 million roughly per school, and then the $50 million that the Pac-12 schools, Oregon State and Washington State, or just the Pac-12 in general, had to pay. So that's what they were all fighting over. If that's the quick lowdown there. If you've been under a rock and if you follow these conferences and somehow didn't know, then there you go.
Another thing that was part of this is that the Mountain West was withholding distributions.
That's true. They were withholding distributions
because they were still conference members. So Utah State, all these other schools, they were still in the conference.
Yeah.
They still had a right to receive distributions from bowl appearances, NCAA tournament units. So they still had a right to receive those distributions until they were no longer part of the conference. So that
depends, because in the Mountain West bylaws,
to some degree, part of the discussion as well.
I think they were trying to get some of that money back, because in the Mountain West bylaws, like the Mountain West is allowed to do, like once you say you're leaving the conference. Of course, the teams were trying to be cute about when they said they were leaving the conference, so that was part of the argument. Was the Mountain West withholding those? Did they have a right? Again, that they're fighting over all this stuff.
Yeah, but that was part of the discussion. Was what was being withheld.
That was kind of the justification for why the departing schools were suing the Mountain West, as opposed to Mountain West just suing the Pac-12 and these schools over not giving them the money.
Yeah, you're essentially triple dipping. Here's what these schools and the Pac-12 are alleging to the Mountain West.
Yeah. So as the news leaked or broke back in May, or I forget exactly, it was a couple months ago, long enough that I'd kind of forgotten about it. It was announced that they were going to settle. Now
they kind of signaled that they had reached a settlement, that it would be settled, and it was like early June.
Yeah.
And so we're just waiting to when was it definitively and finally settled? Like they reached.
They agreed in principle,
but they hadn't really signed on any dotted lines.
Yeah, hadn't finalized it. You have to put a settlement in front of a judge. The judge has to approve the settlement. So they had to go through all of that process, and that takes a while. As I've said before, the legal process is measured. The smallest increment of time in the legal system is weeks. It's like weeks, months, and years. That's your seconds, minutes, and hours. So the settlement was official by as of at least earlier this week, where they put out statements. It was probably technically finalized maybe a little bit before then.
Yeah, they issued a joint statement.
That was yesterday morning, or was it?
It was right after we got done with our media availability with Utah State. So it was Tuesday midday. Because I was kicking myself that we didn't know this, to be able to ask Cam Walker to issue some level of a statement on this. But according to Mark Ziegler,
this is what we've been working to for the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, San Diego Union Tribune does a lot of stuff very close to what's going on with San Diego State. He's been following this very closely, and he's got access. Give him credit for that. He's got weird takes about elevation and where ball games are played. But he does have an ear to the ground of what's going on with San Diego State and the Pac-12.
He's got an axe to grind against the Mountain West, if we have to be honest.
Yes, he does. And so he had some reporting today getting into the more nitty-gritty of what these numbers are. There's been a lot of speculation about it, but not naming names is that the people provide this information on condition of anonymity.
They basically have to, otherwise you get into serious crap with the settlements.
But apparently there's a federal court in Northern California that's going to give the sides until September 1st to formalize this settlement, and a hearing is scheduled for September 9th. So we may actually finally hear some more definitive information on public record in September on this.
Will that be public? Because sometimes these private settlements don't always make it to the public record.
If it's in a federal court, I would imagine that would be publicly available.
I don't know anything about law.
But Ziegler didn't just end there. Like, he did some more digging and found out some more details on what the terms of the settlement are. And it sounds like money is going both ways.
Yeah, well, it's a complicated process because the long and short of this is that the Mountain West is going to get roughly, maybe slightly less than half of what they were asking for with this $155 million.
Described as about 45 cents on the dollar.
Yeah, in estimates, like some of his sources estimated, some of his sources estimated 47 cents. Some were saying it was around 50 cents on the dollar. So essentially half, slightly less than half, depending on, I guess, maybe how optimistic, or maybe those terms hadn't been like exactly settled. So there could still be some wiggle room on that exact dollar figure, and maybe it'll change when they put it in front of a judge. Again, I don't really know how the legal process works, but I'm trying to justify why some sources are a little different there. But yeah, the complicated aspect of this is, as Eric, as you point out, is that money is going to be kind of going both ways because of the fact that the Mountain West withheld money. You know, they'll have withheld more. Like Utah State's going to owe about, it comes out to about $10 million roughly.
Roughly, yeah.
Again, these are rough, so they'll owe roughly $10 million.
According to his reporting.
Yeah. They'll owe roughly $10 million, but the Mountain West, according to Ziegler's reporting, would have withheld roughly $12 million over these last two seasons. So the Mountain West should theoretically be cutting a check for $2 million. Now, exact figures and exactly who's sending checks to who and how big these checks are, that kind of stuff is going to vary from school to school. For instance, Boise State's probably going to get a much larger check because of their participation in the college football playoff and how much was withheld from them by the Mountain West. But yeah, because of the settlement, there's going to be some accountants are going to be well worked with figuring out exactly, like, okay, trying to credit this and send out checks here. That's maybe why it's taken so long, is they're trying to figure out, in addition to just negotiating all this, they got to figure out, okay, who owes who, what, who's writing checks to who, how much was withheld, how much does this specific school owe. This is kind of a giant financial mess because of kind of how, you know, the Mountain West has been withholding that money. So they've been taking money for the $155 million they believe they're owed. They were taking money toward that, but they took more money than they're eventually going to be getting, or maybe close to that. At least more money than these schools specifically owe. Because they wouldn't have taken all of them, because they would have taken roughly 50 to 60 million, I think.
At the Mountain West basically had a bribe to UNLV and Air Force to keep them in the Mountain West, essentially saying, we believe we're going to receive this big fat paycheck from the Pac-12 and the 5 departing schools, so we can provide this extra financial incentive to keep you around. And it was in anticipation of $155 million, the full amount. Well, now they're going to get only half of that. And so, you know, they'll still get some money. Those two schools will get an outsized portion of that money compared to everybody else, but it isn't what was originally anticipated. So I don't know if that triggers anything else for those schools. If they decide they don't like what's been happening in this newly formed Mountain West, that may trigger an opportunity for them to say this is a breach of contract, a breach of what you intended, and that opens the door for maybe somebody else to leave to the mountain, from the Mountain West to the Pac-12. Not sure of that just yet, but it does appear that UNLV and Air Force are not going to get as much as they originally thought they were going to get, including the rest of the other member institutions of the Mountain West.
Yeah, because I think they were supposed to get somewhere in the range of $20 million. That's what they were maybe hoping for if they got the full $155 million back. But again, according to Ziegler's reporting, and I believe Chris Murray, he crunched his own numbers as well. They're all basing this off of the kind of publicly reported memorandum of understanding for the Mountain West. But UNLV and Air Force will both get basically $15 million. Like they'll get a $14.9 million to be exact. Nevada, New Mexico, San Jose State, and Wyoming will each get $7 million, and Hawaii will get $3 million.
Assuming it was $100 million distribution.
Yeah. So it's going to be less than that.
Right.
So I don't know, do the math, because UNLV and Air Force are going to get 24.5% of the first $61 million collected. So I think it is still going to be that 14.9 million, because that comes out of only the 61 million, because then the next certain amount of millions of dollars goes to, reserves, recruitment, different things like that. But essentially, UNLV and Air Force are going to get a decent chunk of change. But Nevada, New Mexico, San Jose State, and Wyoming, and even Hawaii, they're going to get some money. But again, a lot of what is coming in from this lawsuit, from this settlement, is essentially just going to be kind of holding the line for the Mountain West in their media distribution, because they're all supposed to get a minimum of $3.5 million per year, but their media deal does not cover that. So this money has to go toward that. And what they've gotten back is plenty to cover that for several years. It's kind of like with the Pac-12 schools. They had enough money floating around to cover some kind of ridiculous, spending if they needed it. But eventually that money runs out. And what's the Pac-12 going to do or the Mountain West going to do at that point? The Pac-12 was already dealing with the fact that they've just about run out of that extra spending cash. So they have to face the new reality of living on smaller means. And the Mountain West is essentially going to go through a smaller version of that where, they're going to be able to kind of uphold everything for now.
But what this doesn't factor in, what we don't know is what was the legal bill for the Mountain West. Some of this money is going to have to go to pay the lawyers.
It is.
And so they won't have that to distribute to the rest of the member institutions. So this isn't nearly as much money as the Mountain West had hoped for. It is a chunk of money that's headed to the Mountain West that they will be able to distribute among their members. And certainly, as we mentioned, 24.5% of that goes to 2 schools specifically. But it's not what they were hoping for.
Yeah.
So this is a win for Utah State and members of the Pac-12. It's not nearly as much, and it's done. It's put behind us. The Mountain West is in a little bit more dire straits financially than the Pac-12 is. So even though the Pac-12 has expended a lot of funds here recently, they can absorb this better than the Mountain West can.
Yeah, the Pac-12 at this point, we knew that forming this conference was going to cost a pretty penny. But the Pac-12 had a pretty penny to spend. And they've spent a lot of that now. Legal bills, the money they're going to be sending out, it is going to drain all that excess money they had. But again, the conference was never going to be rolling in dough forever. So they spent a lot of the money they had in the saving account. And now they've formed this new conference. And the new conference isn't in a perfect spot, but it's in a good spot. They're not in as good a spot as they would have hoped. They would have liked to have a couple teams from the American. They'd have liked to not maybe have to do the flex game. But they're in a good position to move forward. And so for the Pac-12, this represents a win. Yes, they'll have to write a big check, or metaphorically have to write a $70 to $75 million check. Again, exactly how that all figures out because of, who's maybe technically cutting a check. But essentially, the Mountain West gets $75-ish million. The Pac-12 gets to, they've paid the price for bringing over the teams from the Mountain West. They formed their conference, and the Pac-12 is in a good spot moving forward. For the Mountain West, I wouldn't say they're in financial dire straits, because they're not at risk of going financially under.
No, and they also received entry fees for Hawaii to be a full member, for North Dakota State to be a full member, for UTEP to be a full member, Northern Illinois to be a partial member. So they've received some entry fees to be part of their new club. So they've bolstered themselves up and hedged their bets in different ways by adding new members. But it is also watering down with the distributions that are going on.
Yeah, this is the risk for the Mountain West, because they have all this money incoming, and that is a good thing for the conference. If they can spend it right and maybe elevate some of the teams coming in, like help Northern Illinois get to kind of where they were maybe in the early 2010s, where they're kind of struggling a bit now. But the problem is that the Mountain West, unless they manage to have some of their programs achieve some very sudden growth, because a lot of their programs are kind of declining. Like UNLV and New Mexico are kind of on the up and up, but a lot of their other programs are declining and getting worse and not what they once were. Team like Nevada, Wyoming, again, Northern Illinois, kind of like that. Like the schools that are really on the up and up for them are basically UNLV, New Mexico, and those are only for 1 or 2 years. We don't know if it's sustainable yet. And then Grand Canyon's doing all right in most of their sports. So the risk for the Mountain West is that, sure, they have all of this money coming in, but can they sustain it, or do they eventually diminish and become more like Conference USA and the MAC? And mind you, there are far worse fates because those are solvent conferences that have exciting aspects to them. But the point of the Mountain West, like what they were gunning for before this whole thing with the Pac-12, was to be the top G5 conference. Now the Mountain West could end up being the 3rd or 4th best conference. And that's kind of the risk they're running. Financially, they're fine. They're going to be fine. But can they live at the level of being a top G6 conference? I'm not convinced of that yet.
Well, the challenge here is that there's money coming in isn't going to change any programs.
Yeah. If each program were getting like $20 million, yeah, that would change a lot of things.
Yeah.
But for most of them, it's
UNLV gets an opportunity. They get an outsized portion here, and they're on a trajectory that benefits them. Air Force gets an outsized portion, but they're not on much of a trajectory that's going to change them anyway.
Yeah. For them, it's like for most of these teams, for like even for Air Force and UNLV, it's like maybe like
if it was that kind of a money that UNLV received, if Nevada got that, that would be program changing money for Nevada.
But like for UNLV, it's like 15% of 1 year's budget, which is not a small number. Like getting 50% of your entire budget in one go, that's nice. But like, and for Nevada, it would be closer to like 20 or 30%, I think. But like, again, it's not program changing. For UNLV, most of that's just going to help them get out of debt a little bit.
Pay down their debt.
Maybe manage to pay their head coach. Rumors of whether or not they may actually be able to do so. But yeah, they're getting a nice little bump in money, but the Pac-12's money that's incoming is far more like, yes, they're having to cut some big checks and they're taking some big hits now. But they got a better media deal and they've got a better, at least, a nicer path, an easier path toward getting more and more money and more exposure. The Mountain West does get the short-term money, but the long-term is, if you're looking long-term, that's where the Mountain West may struggle. And again, that's the whole reason you go to the Pac-12 is you're looking in the long-term. When everyone made this move, they knew they were going to have to pay some of this money. The lawsuits are trying to get out of literally everything, but everyone knew they weren't going to do that.
Yeah.
But the whole point is to lose some money now, make it back in the future.
I know we need to hit a timeout, but real quick, this is, with this being settled, and we still might not know anything until after September, but I would hope that once this is done, then we'll have looser lips in the Pac-12 about what the media deal looks like financially for the Pac-12. My hunch still remains that was put under a tight lid because of these other negotiations that were going on with the settlement. But hopefully with this now behind us, we'll have a little bit more knowledge of the terms of the media deal for the Pac-12 too.
Yeah, I hope so as well. We got to take a break. As Eric said, we're a little overdue. When we come back, we'll reveal the next player on our countdown of the top 25 players for Utah State football in 2026. That'll be next here in the Full Court Press. Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Jason Walker here with Eric Frandsen, talking a little legal stuff that we have no clue, or at least I don't ever know what I'm talking about. I just try and read and understand as best I can.
Whatever, Jason Walker, Esquire.
Mountain West and Pac-12 settling in, by all accounts, 47 cents on the dollar, or 50 cents. Again, there's a lot of people in the Mountain West on the Mountain West side who are like, oh, it's anonymous sources, so we can't trust those. And it's like, come on. Like,
I mean, providing that kind of information, it's coming from reliable sources.
Yeah, like these are journalists who, they don't just say, oh, I have like, because I know there are people on social media, and even, we're on YouTube. There are people on YouTube. I'm not going to call out their names, but I think they're based in Utah. They literally make up things and say it's sourced. And so because of that, people are starting to have this thing. Of course, there's a whole thing with fake news and politics where they're anonymous sources, but just because sources are anonymous doesn't mean they're unreliable.
Yeah.
Some of the most impactful and important journalistic reporting in history came from anonymous sources.
I've got a couple of texts coming through and messages on the YouTube chat. Let's go first to the Young Power Sports of Logan text line, 1818. Ziegler, what I would call everyone's fair weather reporter. I absolutely hate him unless he writes a hit piece on the Mountain West Conference.
Mark Ziegler is really interesting because, he's
a polarizing figure.
He will very eloquently write about how much you suck or whatever hit piece. Like, again, as I said, he kind of almost has an axe to grind with the Mountain West. But he's an honest, reliable journalist. Like, capital J journalist.
Yeah. He you may not always like some of his takes, but he does try to source his information, properly source the information that he shares.
Yeah, and he pretty much seemed to have, because he's a top 25 reporter, he seemed to have a bias against everyone in the Mountain West. But he didn't really seem to have a bias towards San Diego State. If you look at his voting and even some of his opinion, he doesn't have this Homer-ish view of San Diego State. Granted, he's very close to them and he's not overtly negative of them, but he doesn't overhype San Diego State. He's generally pretty fair with them, but just seems to be really pessimistic about everyone else.
Yeah, and then in the YouTube chat, Braden Clark popping in. Who is Blake Anderson suing anyway? Everyone who fired him is gone.
I mean, he is still technically suing those individuals who got him fired, personally. They're named in the lawsuit.
They're personally named, and the actions of the institution, which still exists.
Yeah, so they want to get their due from the university.
Yeah.
Whether that be a settlement of if they're willing to settle. I've heard they aren't willing to settle, but if not a settlement, then get a win in court. But that's a process that takes a long time.
Yeah. Well, sometimes the money involved in the settlement is the apology. And so just if it's the right number, if it's the right figure.
Yeah, we'll see. But no apologies here because we've got the top 25 Aggies of 2026. We're up to number 17, aren't we? That's the one I have pulled up, so it better be it.
That is correct.
Okay, so let's hear who we've got at number 17 for this year's top 25 Aggies for the upcoming football season.
We're up to number 17 on the Cache Valley Media Group Top 25 Aggies of 2026. And the player ranked at this spot is defensive back Chapman Lewis. The 6'1" transfer from Texas Tech brings an exciting level of experience playing at the Power 4 level. He started 11 games for the Red Raiders in 2024 and was 5th on the team in tackles with 57. He also added 3 interceptions, 3 pass breakups, and 1 fumble recovery. Injuries held Lewis out of the last couple of games of 2024 and all of 2025, but now is ready to make a big impact for the Aggies in 2026 as a major piece of the defensive backfield.
Yes, Chapman Lewis, the safety coming over from Texas Tech. I missed all of 2025. I can't remember if the injury that held him out of 2025 was the same one that held him out of the last couple of games. He got injured late in the season of 2024. but hasn't played in a while. But he was a starting caliber safety for Texas Tech. And Utah State, usually when they're getting these power conference transfers, it's, well, this guy redshirted at a power conference, but clearly wasn't going to play, so he transfers down, or he spent 4 years at a power conference school, never got on the field. He wants to go out with a bang. Usually it's one of those two flavors from the power conference, but like a lot of, as we talk about, a lot of transfers for Utah State from the power conference level, several of these guys have actually played significant snaps. And Chapman Lewis is kind of the leader of that because he has not only a bunch of snaps, but a bunch of starts.
Right. This is a playmaker. Utah State went out. They knew they needed some help in their backfield, in the secondary. Is he a corner? Is he a safety? It's something still a little bit to be determined. But this is a guy who Utah State went out and they knew they needed some experience and talent after they were losing some to graduation last year at some of those key positions. And this is a guy they went out and got. Proven product, proven commodity to come in there and be a real anchor in that secondary for Utah State. Hoping that he's going to be healthy and have a great campaign, because when he is, he's an impact player. This guy makes plays, and he made them at the highest level with Texas Tech. He makes tackles. He gets in there. He can do tackles for loss. He can snag interceptions. This guy can do a lot of different things, and he's got the right size too. I like seeing that the what Utah State is doing in their secondary is making sure that they have guys with height and size to handle big wide receivers, and to be able to not just react to what other people are doing, but to go on the offensive on defense.
Yeah, because that's going to be a big key. Like, that's Nick Howell's defenses. They very much go on the offensive on defense. That's, and as I said, the best defenses tend to be able to do that, but Nick Howell tends to scheme things around, sending the extra guy on the blitz or different things. And so he's brought in a lot of players that are capable of fulfilling that, and not just that have the talent on paper, but again, are getting out there on the field. They're not just getting a bunch of cast-offs who haven't played. They're getting guys with great talent. So Bronco Mendenhall was, when you asked him about how deep the team was, he was talking about how they're more talented across the board and deeper, especially on defense. And Chapman Lewis is just one of the many reasons why that keeps popping up, this storyline, this narrative of them being more talented and deeper. Not to throw shade at recent years, but it's just kind of the reality that we're seeing is they've got a lot of talent coming in, really just more of it. And plus the experience with it.
Yeah, and we've seen too often corners and safeties at Utah State who are 5'10", 5'9", 5'8". Just they're not big enough to hang with some of the wide receivers that they face. They may have the speed, and they have big hearts, and they try hard, but they can get bullied by opposing wide receivers. And this is a team over the last year which is not going to allow that to happen. They're changing the fundamental fabric of that defense, and especially in that secondary where they're having bigger guys back there who can contend with some of the wide receivers that they will routinely face.
Yeah, so that is our number 17 player on our top 25 Aggies of 2026. He was one of the players I highlighted back in May, I think, is when I wrote this article I'm looking at, where the newcomers to watch. A few of these players have shown up on our top 25 players of 2026. Javon Robinson, he's on there.
Yeah.
Chapman Lewis is one of them. I can't remember if was Antonio Blewett he was on one of the spots, wasn't he? He was 24, 25.
He's number 24 on our list. Yeah.
Yeah, he was on my newcomers to watch. So I don't know if that means I'm smart or not, but it's just some of these players in the back end of the top 25 Aggies are sometimes we're doing a bit of guessing. But when you get up to 17, these are guys who are very confident are going to be impact players for the team.
Yeah.
So we're going to go ahead and shift toward another break. And we come back, we'll have the hottest game show in sports radio. But if you want to send in any of your thoughts on any of the topics for today, text 435-339-0321. That's the Young Power Sports of Logan text line. We'll be back after this here on the Full Court Press. Head on over to Birdie's Golf Lounge, 650 North, 870 West in Logan is where you can find it. They got a swing AI coach system. They got these fancy Unicore iXO2 launch monitors, 2 additional cameras for the superior analysis of your shot, and you can use those to play one of the 2,000 courses they have available, and the courses they use just as fancy technology, the LiDAR for the most realistic mapping. The same kind of stuff they use to map out the racetracks that I do sim races on. So very, you got to be like very precise on all the terrain and whatnot. So
very realistic stuff.
Yeah. We need to get to the hottest game show on sports radio, and that is Hot Take or Not a Take. Now, it's been a minute since we've done this, so I'll review the rules for those of you who haven't listened. But essentially, I look on the internet and I try and find a hot take, or sometimes I'll just make one up, see if I can fool Eric. That's what most of the games I come up with are. The whole point is trying to fool Eric. That's with bowl, basketball, or bogus, which we'll have that come up in December probably. It's a few months away.
Yeah. Well, we probably need to do it more like in November because those MTEs are already going in November.
That's true. We'll see how exactly it goes. The problem is eventually Eric learns all the bowl games. And
I try to purposely avoid looking at them now because I know it's coming up.
No, it's coming. So let's start with this. I actually picked out 2, but I'll start with this one. If you have time, we'll get to the second one. But this, and mind you, when I take a take from somebody, it has to be like somebody like relatively notable.
Not some random.
Yeah, not just some random on social media because heaven knows what they can say. So sometimes when it's not a take, maybe somebody has said it, but I'm talking somebody who has a relative presence somewhere.
Okay.
But this individual, writing for a major sports network, said that, quote, the SEC hasn't fallen off in any way, talking about football. Because there's been a lot of talk about the SEC. The Big Ten has won the last 3 championships in football. So it's like, is the SEC falling off? But this writer says the SEC hasn't fallen off in any way.
I think that's a hot take. I could believe somebody saying that.
That is indeed a hot take. It was said by Bill Connolly of ESPN and the what's the word? Inventor, the creator of SP Plus.
Oh, right.
A metric that I reference quite a bit. And he used SP Plus specifically trying to argue that really it's just maybe like you have a couple of teams like Alabama and Georgia have like dropped off slightly, but like the back end of the conference is slightly better. But as somebody pointed out, well, like if the top end of your conference isn't as good, that's you falling off.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
Because that was the whole point, is that the SEC was the best.
The best.
Conference.
Elite.
And especially top to bottom. But I found the narrative that the SEC is better top to bottom because you've seen Nick Saban. Because there's basically a lot of apologists and a lot of cope going on. Because the SEC has this mythology that they are the best. Nobody else is close to the best. The SEC wins the championships, and that's just that. But the Big Ten has won 3 straight championships. And if you look at the last few years, like the SEC has not been particularly great as far as competing for a championship. And I ran the numbers, and I'm trying to see if I can find them. I had them, I dug around somewhere for them. But essentially, if you look at win percentage between the power conferences, and I isolated it to just, I think, this last year. But the SEC, not only like, because the argument is, hey, from top to bottom, the SEC is the best. Maybe they don't have the best at the top, but from top to bottom, they're the best. But even if you're looking at that, all power conference teams, when they face each other, and not just in bowl season, because the SEC try to dismiss bowl season as, well, that doesn't matter because,
players that decide to miss or opt out.
Yeah. So like I included all non-conference games and the playoffs, because those are the ones that are supposed to matter. And not only is the SEC not the best team top to bottom, they're not even the second best team. They're behind the Big 12 in terms of win percentage against other power conference teams. And I also ran a calculation, how good are you against teams above 500? The results still pan out the same. The SEC, not even the second best in terms of performing against other power conference teams. They're the third best. So ESPN's metrics really like the SEC. But that kind of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, why is the SEC good? Why do they have a tough schedule? Well, they play a bunch of SEC teams.
Yeah.
Why are the SEC teams good? Because they play a tough schedule. Well, why do they play a tough schedule? Because they play SEC teams.
Yeah.
And you end up with this circular logic.
Yeah.
So that was one of the fun hot takes or not takes. You want to try a second one? We got
we got a second. Yeah.
This other one is this was a new athletic director in his introductory press conference who said, "We are here to win championships. If you don't want to win championships, go to Indiana."
Now I know that's a hot take. I saw that and I'm like, what? You realize that team just won a championship.
I know. Of all teams to pick.
Why are you saying that? Like, are folks at Purdue like doing a facepalm moment? Like, why did we choose this guy?
Yeah. So as Eric said, this is the new athletic director for Purdue, Tommy McClelland, and I actually pulled the video.
Oh, so we have full evidence
of the Purdue athletic director.
Every recruit, every current student athlete will hear this message repeatedly. We are here to win championships. If you don't want to win championships, go to Indiana.
What the heck was that?
Like I get there's an in-state rivalry and all that, and historically Indiana has struggled, but
as if Purdue's done better.
I was just going to say, point to all the national championships that Purdue has on their shelf.
Yeah, like it's ridiculous. Like just, yeah. I mean, in basketball, they've admittedly done pretty darn good, but yeah, like Indiana just won the title,
just barely. Like, how was that not on your mind? How do you not? Have you been living under a rock?
Yeah.
How can you be a new athletic director at a premium institution and not know another school in your own state now?
It's just the funniest thing.
I can tell that he thinks he's trying to, I'm going to rev up the crowd. I'm going to watch this zinger. I'll get him.
He just made a fool of himself.
And
that's
like,
all he did.
What are you doing?
He is now known as the idiot athletic director who forgot that Indiana just won a national title. Like if he'd have said that last year, it'd have been funny.
It would have been funny. Oh, yeah, ha ha, Indiana, we got those guys. They're chumps. But now it's like,
excuse me, what?
I think it's like nervous laughter. Like, are you sure you just said what we think you just said?
Yeah, maybe don't mock the reigning champion. Like, that joke was good last year, or maybe 6 years down the road if Kurt Signani doesn't manage to win another 2 or 3 championships at Indiana. So there we go. That's hot take or not a take. I got to up my game because Eric wasn't fooled by either of those. So we'll see what I can pull off next time. We'll also have pick 6 as that's another thing Eric's doing well on. He's won 3 of the last 4.
Turning the tide. Yes.
Yeah. I was dominating. Now it's a lot more even, maybe even slipping toward Eric. I can't let that happen. So we'll have pick 6 next hour, but we got to wrap up the first hour coming up after this break here on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan.
At Napa Auto Parts, they have premium DEF 2.5 gallon for only $8.99. They also have SureCan gas cans that are in stock and on sale. If you want deals on filters, on a variety of different motor oils, you can find them on sale and available right now at Napa Auto Parts.
Were you thrown off by the...
There were lyrics there.
We don't usually have lyrics in our bump music.
Yes, I had to wait for the lyrics, and then I could finish.
So getting to our Young Power Sports of Logan text line. First, let me get this with 1818. Then we'll get to 9-5, who's making a good point. But 1818 saying, I just want this discussion of Pac versus Mountain West legal battle to end, because in the end, if the Mountain West gets $70 million or $100 million, it will change literally 0 things on the football field and basketball court. Us as fans will never see that money in what it does for athletic teams, which is a good point. And as I was saying earlier this week, like, I just want all this to end because, like, Eric's not convinced. But
yeah,
I mean, we'll never see that money anyway. And, like, does $14 million change UNLV's athletic department? Kind of, not really. Helps, I mean, but like, are they
$14 million?
How many wins? How many wins is that worth in football?
Yeah. So, well, I think it's still important to recognize. I mean, the texter 1818 says, "What are $70 million or $100 million?" That's a $30 million difference. In my family, that $30 million difference would be a big difference.
But that's your family. We're talking about 9 schools in the Pac-12. Right, you spread out that extra $30 million.
Even for a conference, that's a lot of money. That pays down debt. That helps facilities. That's still a lot of money. It's still significant. And the reason why I think it's still important to discuss this and to understand it is because it can be the difference between an athletic department making important facilities improvements for its athletes, or just holding on to what they've got and begging the community to give even more than they've already given. And so I think that it can be the difference between Will it create wins and losses? Not necessarily, but it can certainly help an institution get its house in order and improve its facilities with wellness and locker rooms and other things that are important to student athlete success. So yes, it is a difference. Every dollar counts, especially in this NIL revenue sharing environment. So every dollar does count. If it's 30 million difference, that's a huge amount of money. Even if it's spread out across 9 schools, it's still significant.
Yeah. 9-1-5 on the text line saying, what will USU use the money it gets back from the lawsuit for? Like recruiting? Well, I don't know. Like, because I guess Utah State might get some money back, maybe, or...
In the end, Utah State does not get money back. They get some money from the Mountain West, but they still have to pay money to the Mountain West.
Well, they have to pay out $10 million. The conference has to send money. Like Utah State had, again, roughly $12 million withheld, but their price tag, if the settlement terms reported by Mark Ziegler are correct, Utah State, as in just Utah State, would only have to pay about $10 million. So they would get money back, like just straight up get money back if these figures are accurate.
Yeah, which would be maybe like $2 million is what he's reporting. So
hey, every dollar counts.
Every dollar counts. Now, how will they use
that? That's like 1/3 of a basketball roster.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. Helps you with recruiting, retention of players, retention of coaches.
They could use $2 million for all these new players that are getting eligibility.
Yeah, you suddenly have...
and some of them are suing to be able to transfer.
Fifth-year player that you can add to your roster to help right now.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
There you go.
Really quick to wrap up the hour, we got to talk about hockey because otherwise, I think it was 5338. We'll stop listening. The Athletic did a fan survey, asked a bunch of questions. We don't have time to go over all of them.
But about 19,000 people participated in a survey, and just questions about the NHL in the offseason and where things stand with hockey. And which NHL team improved the most this offseason? Florida Panthers received the most with 24% of the vote, but Utah Mammoth got 5%. They got some recognition for their offseason moves.
Yeah, Mammoth don't show up in very many of these, which is both a good and a bad thing, depending on the question. Although my favorite question, and it doesn't involve the Mammoth at all, but which potential expansion cities would you most like to see get a new franchise? And Phoenix area. They don't even say Phoenix. They just say Phoenix area. And they had the 7th most votes, because I like drinking Arizona Coyotes fans' salty tears. I get way too much enjoyment from them basically hate watching the Mammoth. But yeah, now, so you get Quebec, Houston, Portland, the Toronto area, Kansas City, and Atlanta are the top 6. The kind of overwhelming favorite is Quebec.
Yeah.
67% of the vote, 13,000 wanted to see Quebec get a franchise.
But it's also interesting, 62% said they are not in favor of expansion.
Yeah, they like to see it stay at, they're at 32 teams?
32 teams.
Yeah, so they probably don't want to see expansion anyway, but if they are going to expand, they like to see another Canadian team, just so that one more Canadian team can fail to win the Stanley Cup. That's going to do it for us in the first hour. Coming up next, we've got some interviews and some Utah State football talk to take us through our newly returned second hour of the Full Court Press. Keep it here. Welcome back into the Full Court Press. It is the second hour. Whoop, whoop.
Let's
Here
go
on the Full Court Press.
We're going to be doing this 2-hour thing for a while now.
Yeah, it'll be nice. We can talk sports for twice as long.
Yes, months on end.
Yeah, months on end, weeks, months even, maybe years. We'll see. We're here on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan, streaming online at 1069thefan.com and on the 1069 The Fan mobile app, and streaming live on YouTube. You can watch myself and also Eric Frandsen if you really want to.
Yeah, for the sickos out there.
Or I can do this and I can just click the button that just shows me and not you.
You have the control.
I do have technically you do too.
I can pull it back.
You have a little button bar there. If you want to send in any of your thoughts as we go throughout the second hour, send them to 435. Text them to 435-339-0321. You can also drop a chat in the YouTube if that's where you're following today's show. Of course, if you're even following along on the podcast, you can text them in, even if it's out of hours, outside of our live show range. We'll still get around to reading your texts and discussing whatever you want to talk about, as long as it's within reason.
Yeah, as long as it keeps us relatively on top.
We're not talking about rodeos 9 through 5.
No.
Put your phone down.
Yes, not going there. There is a carryover from last hour. You know, we were talking about this this survey that the Athletic did for hockey fans, and they do not favor expansion. They feel like Utah made some good offseason moves. One thing that we didn't get a chance to get to is there have been a lot of outdoor games that the NHL has put on over the last 20 years or so.
I didn't see that question.
It was the last question.
That's probably why I didn't scroll to the bottom.
And there were a lot of responses to it. They said they got over 1,500 responses, and well, more than that, but over 1,500 of those who did respond mentioned Alaska in some form or fashion.
Mainly because everyone just says Alaska is cold, so why don't we just do one there?
Yeah, have an outdoor game there. I don't know what the fan participation would look like, or if you can do it outside and survive.
Are there enough people in Alaska to attend? Do they have an arena big enough?
I don't know if they have any kind of an outdoor arena. Anchorage would be your best bet.
You could go play a NHL game in basically any pond or lake in Alaska. Yeah. But like, can you get an arena that's big enough for it to be worth it?
You have to put up some stands, maybe build it out of nothing, or
just have it be a fun gimmick, like when Pitbull went to an Alaskan Walmart as part of one random promotion. Just went out in the middle of nowhere, just bring a bunch of cameras because no one's following him there.
Now Utah will be hosting the Winter Classic coming up this next year, January 1st. In Salt Lake City, so that'll be exciting, having an outdoor game in our own state coming up soon. So that'll be exciting.
Yeah, should be a lot of fun.
We did get a text on the text line from 6391 on the Young Power Sports of Logan text line saying, speaking of hockey, did you guys see that the Mammoth are hosting an event at the Ice Center at the end of the month?
Yeah, they held a similar one, I believe, last year. So they're holding, I don't know if it's going to be like the exact same thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Or similar-ish.
I haven't seen the full details, but I did, I was able to go up to it last year. They had some fun activities in the parking lot. They had some things they were doing on the ice, just trying to get the team out in the community. And they made multiple stops up and down the state. I got a chance to visit with our good friends Mike Folta and Adrian Denny while there, and to get to know or be introduced to a couple other people with the organization. So if you're a hockey fan, that's a great place to learn about, or if you're just curious about the game, that's a great event to go to. They always do it well. There's fun little games that kids and adults can participate in.
Of course, if you want a fun introduction to hockey as a sport, and you're here and you don't necessarily have the inclination to go down to Salt Lake, club hockey games for Utah State. Because that's basically where I got my hockey introduction. Was watching and covering Utah State hockey, Utah State club hockey. Got to say club hockey, because otherwise the Utah State administration will get mad at me for associating their brand with the club team.
Let's see real quick here. So I got the details. It's a statewide event. It starts on August 29th, goes through September 5th, and they will be in Logan, in North Logan, to be more specific, on Monday, August 31st from 6 to 8 p.m. So they're going to start in St. George. Then they're going to come all the way to Logan and then start making their way a little bit further south from there. So Monday, August 31st, they will be in North Logan.
Also, 6391 texting and saying, second hour, whoop, whoop.
Let's go.
Let's hear it from you, Eric. Can you read off that text for me?
Woo-hoo. Second hour, woo-hoo. I'm reading it as it's written.
I'm disappointed, Eric.
Yeah.
5338 saying, I would like to see Quebec City get a team back. I think Canada needs another team. I know there's some financial hurdles with that, though. The NHL's been in Atlanta twice and failed twice. No need to fail 3 times. One of the fun things, speaking of Canadian teams, was the question about which team are you most confident will not win a Stanley Cup for 2036? And
2026?
It says 2036.
2036?
Yeah. So like 10 years. This is which franchise.
Before 2036.
Yeah, before 2036. This isn't who you think is going to win maybe they have one next year.
Which team will not win a Stanley Cup in the next 10 years?
Yeah, and it's Vancouver, Toronto, Calgary. All the Canadian teams are on there. Basically, everyone's saying, yeah, the Canadian teams don't win. We know it's cursed. The Mammoth, thankfully, do not show up on there. Let's see.
They received a vote.
They say teams with less than 2% of votes, but eyeballing the paragraph of teams, that just looks like every team is on the list at some point.
Yeah. I mean, every team was listed. Somebody put some teams on there. But
yeah, everybody put like their, the team they hate the most on there. But most objective fans apparently put Vancouver and Toronto and Calgary again. All these Canadian teams. Going back to the text line, 935 saying, party pooper Eric. Come on.
I just read the text as they come in.
Also 935 texting and saying, what happens when a polar bear follows you on the ice with the team in Alaska? Do all the starters carry bear spray in their jersey?
Yeah, you may have to.
I was living on the dangerous side when I went to Yellowstone. I didn't lug around a can of bear spray. Probably should have, but I didn't get eaten by a bear. So
it's those polar bears are much more aggressive.
Yeah,
you have to have people on patrol constantly.
Basically, just got a bunch of. I was going to say Canadian Mounties, but if you're in Alaska, they're not going to be there. Maybe bring them along for a game in Alaska, patrol for polar bears. But let's shift toward Utah State football. That's kind of the main topic for these kind of the first part of this second hour here. As watch list season has officially begun.
Yes.
We had some of the watch lists come out earlier this week. Jimmy Liston was on the Outland Trophy watch list. Basically, they released these like one by one. I used to get emails telling me the schedule they were going to release these out on so that, because they want people like me and us to talk about it. And kudos to them. We are talking about it. Because they want to drip feed us all of these. So, Jimmy Liston was named to the Outland Trophy preseason watch list. That is the one that I think is just linemen in general, isn't it? Where is it because this is the one that Merlin Olsen won. Oh, no, it's the top interior offensive lineman. Has that changed? Because isn't the Outland the one that Merlin Olsen won? And I know Merlin Olsen played 2 ways. So... but he was kind of more known for his, being a defensive tackle. We can maybe double check that.
Yeah, you look at the other preseason award watch lists.
But on the same day that Jimmy Liston was named to the Outland Trophy preseason watch list, Brevin Hamblin, Utah State safety, was named to the Bronco Nagurski Trophy preseason list. And that one, I believe, is one of the Defensive Player of the Year. And there's like 2 or 3 different Defensive Player of the Year ones. But this one is voted by the Football Writers Association of America, which technically I'm a part of. So technically I'll vote for this award if I remember to vote.
If you have an opportunity.
I didn't vote for it last year because I forgot. I forgot to send in my ballot. So those are a couple watch lists.
He was Merlin Olsen was the Outland Trophy.
Yeah, so that's the one that Jimmy Liston's on.
That's the one that he won.
Maybe, like I said, he did play 2 ways, so like... But the one with the Outland Trophy just says, the Outland Trophy is awarded to the nation's top interior offensive lineman.
So maybe it was different back in the 60s.
Yeah, perhaps. But again, he did play both ways, so maybe he was the best interior offensive lineman. Who knows? But Jimmy, listen, that's not the only watch list that he has been named to, as earlier today, he was named to the Remington Trophy watch list. And the Remington Trophy is, this because the Outland is about interior offensive linemen, the Remington Trophy is specifically for centers, which is the position that Jimmy Liston plays. So that's another watch list, and there will be more because we're going to have more Defensive Player of the Year. We're going to have, there's like the Polynesian one. There's also one specifically for players from Texas.
Yeah, that's true.
I remember, what was it, the running back? I forget, Robert Briggs was on that once or twice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we kind of mentioned this earlier, but Brevin Hamblin named the Bronco Nagurski.
Yeah, I mentioned that while you were looking up the Outland Trophy.
Oh, yeah. And then the Pac-12 apparently has their own list.
Yeah, so the Pac-12, and they've been doing this for about a week, where they have this preseason impact list. And they've been releasing one, I think they've been releasing 2 a day for most of this week, or all this week, I think, at this point. Utah State was a little further down the list in terms of order of having theirs released. But basically, they take 5 players, 2 on offense, 2 on defense, and 1 flex. And so this isn't like the preseason, all conference team where it's by position and you're not guaranteed to have anybody on there. Every team has 5 players recognized on this impact list, which the conferences are being cowards because they're starting to do this for a lot of different sports, where it's just everybody gets a participation medal.
Everybody needs to be recognized for their hard work.
Maybe an old man that yells at cloud. Back in my day, we used to do a proper all-conference team preseason. So Utah State had their 5 players honored.
They're impact players recognized.
Impact players recognized. On offense, running back Javen Jacobs and quarterback McKay Hillstead. On defense, Brevin Hamblin and Carson Tujay. The part that we raised our eyebrows, not to throw shade at Carson Tujay, but Bronson Olival we would have thought would have maybe gotten the nod over Tujay. But a fact that I somehow managed to overlook until earlier today is that Carson Tujay set a Utah State record for most tackles by a defensive tackle last year. He had 72.
Wow.
Which is like usually, that's like double what a defensive tackle will normally get. Like a good all-conference tackle will have like 40 tackles. But Carson Tujay had 72 of them. It was pretty crazy.
That is crazy.
So certainly a good season for him as a redshirt freshman. Will only be getting better from there. But the 5th player to be recognized, I'm sure this made Ajay Salveson smile. Punter Landon Riku. Or Recco. I still haven't figured out how to pronounce his name.
I know it's Ricow, but
Ricow?
I don't know. We got to ask him.
Or I can look up the
player
pronunciation guide.
Going to the punter. And I think he's a solid player. I don't know if he's on our list, our top 25. I think he's an honorable mention guy.
Yeah, he's an honorable mention. Away. I think
But, he's a solid player, and you need to have a good punter.
Phil Steele preseason Pac-12 4th team. Yeah, like he's a good punter. It's just a little interesting. Maybe because I'm pretty sure, I don't know for certain. I haven't anybody told me. I haven't asked anybody exactly how this got put together. But my guess is Utah State provided these to the Pac-12.
Probably. Now,
I don't think this is the Pac-12 picking these out. I think Utah State was just like, they probably just said the coach was like, pick 5 players, 2 on offense, 2 on defense, 1 on either, and maybe they thought the other one was for special teams. Because if you pick that as the best player from special teams, maybe that's how they approached it, then Landon is definitely your best special teamer.
Right. Yeah. Here's a guy who averaged nearly 43 yards on 68 punts, which is tied for 9th all time in school history for a single season.
Yeah. So he's a solid punter.
So he's a good punter.
I don't know if
a number as your 5th most impact player for the team.
Essentially, he's like top 5 kind of, and again with the kind of the kind of railroaded nature of 2 offense, 2 defense, and a flex. Maybe you could say he's top 10. I didn't put him top 10 on my top players of 2026, but you know what? Punting is important.
Yep, it is.
Punters can be impact players too.
He did appear on 3 ballots.
I don't think I put him on mine. I don't have my.
But he didn't score well enough.
Well, I might have put him because I think I usually put the kicker and punter on, or at least the kicker, like kind of as a, you should recognize them as one of their top players because they're a starting caliber guy, but I usually put him at the back. So unless they're like a really good kicker.
Anyway, good for him.
Yeah, good for him.
Pac-12 recognizes him as a impact player. And I mean, yeah.
Feels like we spent the whole time backhanded complimenting him, but genuine congratulations.
Yeah, he's a good
Lanton.
player. And he's one of the best punters Utah State's had in a while. He's just one of those guys you hope to never really see.
Yeah.
It's the one player on a roster that you hope to never see on the field.
I do hope to see punters on the field because they're also on the PAT team.
Well, you hope to not see him kick.
That's the important thing.
Yes.
I really like to see them throw and run.
So Bronco Mendenhall seemed to mention that there might be another punter in the mix for Utah State.
Yeah, we'll see. Anthony Garcia. Rumor is he can punt.
Yeah.
According to Bronco. Maybe he hasn't seen him punt, but Bronco believes that's the rumor. Maybe, who knows?
Going to throw off opposing teams.
Yeah. Could I bet you they're going to throw him out there in like the second game and he's just going to kick it. And
Just to put it on film.
Yeah, just put it on film saying, yeah, he can kick it, so best be ready for it. And then he'll throw it the second or third time or whatever.
Yeah, or run.
Yeah, you got to throw off all those analytics and trends and whatnot.
Yep.
So let's take an early break here. We've got some interviews. We did a lot of those in Utah State Media Day on Tuesday. We've only played, I think, 3 of the full interviews, I think. We'll play a couple more. We'll see. We were supposed to play one of them during this first segment, but we spent too much time talking about attack punting and NHL player fan polls.
Fan votes, yes.
So we'll see if we have time for both of these interviews. We'll start with Brevin Hamblin, the interview that Eric did with Utah State's star safety, first team all-conference, according to, did both Phil Steele and Athlon have him first team?
Ooh,
At least one of them did.
One of them did.
One of them did. At least one of them, maybe both of them. But then also a preseason impact player.
Yeah, making that transition from Utah Tech to Utah State, and then from the Mountain West to the Pac-12. Got some interesting comments from him on that.
Yeah, so we'll have that next here on the Full Court Press.
If you want the adventure without having the payment, go check out Live Young Rentals at Young Power Sports. You can rent the newest machines by the day or by the weekend. They've got the greatest power sports machines that are available. Go check it out so you can hit the road, hit the trails, hit the water this weekend. Just don't hit me in the mouth because I'm tongue-tied.
Yeah, they were so amazing. Eric was left speechless.
Yeah, street bikes, side-by-sides, watercraft. Call 435-755-7111.
9315 on the Young Power Sports of Logan text line. First off, saying hashtag Ajay Salveson, punting special events beat writer. And saying, how much is Cash Valley Daily going to pay him for his article on punting?
I think he needs to pay us for an article on punting, for being honest.
It's one of those advertorials.
Yes.
Basically. 1818 also on the Young Power Sports of Logan text line saying, do you think there is a deadline for Bronco to realistically bring Bryson Taylor back? For what it seems, look like both parties want him back. Yeah, so that was something, if you missed it, Bryson Taylor, we mentioned a few days ago that he seemed to be the most realistic option. I scanned through the roster and was from last year, who could fit this 5 for 5, especially with guys only being able to come back to their current team, though that's kind of up in the air because a bunch of athletes are suing to try and get the transfer portal in addition to that 5th year, since the Colorado injunction didn't automatically give that to him. But then I was kind of vindicated because I felt kind of smart because I was okay, this is the only player that I think fits. And then Bronco was well, the only player that fits is Bryson Taylor. So I felt really smart. But yeah, and he kind of went beyond that, saying there's definitely mutual interest. And yeah, as far as bringing him back, I would say maybe halfway through camp. Because obviously the fact that he was with the team last year, there's less catching up to do. And he's probably still in game shape. He did a rookie mini camp. I don't think he made any NFL camp. But he was at a rookie mini camp, I believe. I forget which team. I looked it up the other day, and I can't remember anymore. But it would probably have to happen fairly soon, because if it's happening the last week of practice, or if it's happening in the first couple of weeks of the season, could it still work? Yeah, but it would be a lot like kind of Ike Larson last year, where he wouldn't really realistically be ready. He wouldn't be fully integrated until maybe halfway through the season. But basically, it's the sooner the better.
Yes.
If you don't get him in until right before week 1, then essentially it's doesn't play week 1, might not play game 2. Basically, I'd say there'd probably be a 2 or 3 week onboarding process. So basically take whatever date he would arrive on campus, go 2 or 3 weeks out. That's how soon he would be in game shape, fully integrated, and all that stuff, caught up with what they've been doing this offseason. That's kind of the onboarding process. So if he gets here now, he's fine.
Yeah, it's a conditioning thing. One, understanding the defense. He understands.
Yeah, he understands.
He understands Bronco,
yeah.
But you got new teammates around.
Yeah,
you, so
there's a little bit of
with
catch
them.
up, but that's the easiest part of the whole thing.
Yeah, some refreshers, but it wouldn't take much for him to integrate into this defense.
Yeah, like I said, 2 or 3 weeks max.
So he could be a late addition and still be okay.
Yeah, so just if you want him by week 1 to play against Idaho State, you're probably looking at right around now. If you're wanting him to play by conference, then ideally by the end of this month. But if it takes that long to get him back in uniform, then he's probably not coming back.
Hey, since we're talking defense, let's hear from Brevin Hamblin, the safety from Utah State, somebody who started his career down at Utah Tech and has made the transition to USU to the FBS level. Played in a lot of games for Utah State. Had some great moments. Had some moments where he maybe struggled with that transition to football at this level. But he's got another year under his belt, and he's getting a lot of preseason recognition. And I had a chance to catch up with him at Utah State Football Media Days earlier this week. Brevin Hamblin, Utah State safety, coming into your another season at Utah State. And I want to start with your transition from Utah Tech to Utah State, and then how different that is from what this offseason has been like for you. Just making that transition from FCS to FBS, and but then how you integrated pretty well. I mean,
Yeah.
you played a lot of games. You
Yeah.
started a lot of games. Like, there didn't seem to be much of a learning curve, at least not from us. I'm sure for you there probably was. But just start us from there, just making that transition up to
Yeah.
Utah State from that level.
So my story is a little bit different, and most people probably don't know, but I actually committed to Utah State as an outside linebacker. So I played safety at Utah Tech for 2 seasons, FCS school in St. George, and kind of a bigger safety, as most people know, 6'5". But so I was committed to Utah State as an outside linebacker, and through the off season, just through the training we've done and seeing me train, they decided to put me back at safety, which is my greatest blessing. I love playing safety. And so it's been great just being able to strive to become something and like work for that has been great. And really, as for me, the learning curve wasn't necessarily that big of a deal for me. Being able to come in with coaches and the players around me. Ike Larson was here last year. Just being able to learn from those guys and through the different levels from FCS to FBS, the jump. I felt I did fairly well. Started in 12 games, played all 13, but the learning curve wasn't necessarily a problem for me jumping from FCS to FBS.
And then just this year, how different has this year been in your lead up to the start of fall camp?
Yeah, for this year, I've definitely taken more of a standout leadership role in the safety room, kind of teaching the younger guys, the transfers coming in of our new our defense, of getting them caught up in spring ball to function as like a well-oiled machine. And so it's been good to see, and it's been good for me to be able to, not now that I know the defense, but to be able to teach it to those coming in only strengthens my knowledge of the defense and everything. So
there's been some changeover in that secondary, but how would you assess new guys coming in, guys who maybe we didn't see a lot of but are growing into their roles? How would you assess kind of how that secondary looks so far?
Yeah, I mean, one of our principles is greater than, not equal to. So I feel like we've done a great job of that. We've brought some guys in to kind of fill the gaps that we needed to fill from last year. And I feel like through spring it really showed who wanted it and who wanted to come up and play, even from transfers to guys we had last year. So I feel like we've done a good job at replacing what we've lost, but also strengthening the depth we already had in our room. So,
how do you feel like the defense is evolving this year? Because last year, Nick Howell, Bronco Mendenhall, of course, a lot of new players, but trying to instill concepts that sometimes it just takes a while to really get going. And it seemed like the tail end of the season, it really started to cook on defense. How does that evolve going into this season now?
Yeah, so like you said, the tail end of the season, we really started firing and kind of found our true identity of the Aggie defense. And I feel like we've got a jump start on that going into this spring. We found who we are, what we want to be as a defense here at Utah State. So I feel like getting that jump in spring ball and not waiting with all the new guys from last year to halfway through the season be like, all right, this is what we are. I feel like we've got to jump on it, and right out the gate, we're going to be the Aggie defense that we want to be.
Outside of when spring ends, and obviously you report to camp and things get rolling tomorrow, but what's that off season been like for you? How's that been different? Is it more time in the weight room, just studying a playbook, or integrating with the guys and making them feel comfortable, or trying to elevate where y'all need to be? How would you describe how things have been for you and your unit once spring practice ended and before things get going here for fall camp?
Yeah, I feel like it's been really good. We came back in June, and I feel like the coaches really set us up for success, to give us the best chance to learn and understand and truly own our defense and then the secondary, our communication, all that. So I feel like in June through 7-on-7, walkthroughs and all that stuff, and then through July, player run practices, they did a good job of integrating time in between lifts and meetings, or lifts and runs for player ran meetings. So like in the safety room, I was running those meetings, whether we're drawing up plays on the board, we're watching film, we're studying like techniques and all that stuff. So our coaching staff did a good job of putting in a plan to get us all on the same page and get us all learning this defense to like the most we can. And like outside of football, like the camaraderie in our group has been great. Like Wednesdays we've been the leadership council with McKay has all been putting together like group activities to get the team together, like outside of football, to build that bond that will only help us on the field. So
the schedule kicks off in a big way.
Yeah.
When things get rolling, you get 2 games, Utah and Washington. Old Pac-12 teams. You're going to be a new representative of the Pac-12. I mean, you've spent enough time in the state. You know that Utah game's a big one.
Yeah.
Just what's the feeling for you and just for the team and getting to kind of show what you've been working on and test yourselves against Utah just right out of the gate?
Yeah, I think it's exciting, and it brings kind of a challenge to us to see who, like, if we're going to step up to a challenge, and I think we are. I feel like playing in those bigger games really shows, you know, what you can do, how you can do it, and like really shows not only like as a team but as a personal player, like how tough you are and like how or like what you can overcome and stuff. So I'm really excited to play those bigger games. Really helps player development, team development, and I'm excited for that Utah game.
What does it mean to you to have that Pac-12 patch on your jersey now?
Yeah, it means a lot. I think it brings a level of excitement to our team, our defense, to bring a new slate and really step out as a top dog in this conference. We got new teams, people joining. It's a fresh start for everyone. So for this Aggie defense to come out and be the owner of this league, to really step up to the challenge and be the top defense in this league, I feel like it's a great challenge, and I think we're up for it.
Awesome. Well, Brevin, best of luck, and we're excited to see you on the field.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a fun interview there with Brevin. Again, one of the top players for Utah State. He's probably on your short list of tackle leaders. Like him, Bronson, and Harrison Taggart are probably your top 3 if you're looking at guys, or apparently Carson Tujay is up there
don't
too.
discount Carson Tujay on that list.
Interior defensive tackle, but you've got guys at all different levels who are really solid tacklers who should be able to make an impact. And so it's exciting seeing the experience and the returning talent and just talent overall, because you got incoming talent as well on this defense. So
yeah, and interesting that he was originally recruited to be a linebacker, but then they decided to keep him back at safety. That's what the position he was playing down at Utah Tech. So he was a little bit familiar with that. But
he's like 6'4".
He's really tall for a safety.
He's almost too tall. When you're 6'4", you're starting to get too tall to play football. That or you play offensive lineman, but because you got to have a lot of agility. But that's kind of what makes him interesting player, is that he still has. He's not the fastest or most agile guy out there, but he's fast enough to be able to make that work,
and rangy enough to go be disruptive on a passing play or on a route. So, yeah, he's an interesting player for Utah State. It's been a long time since I've seen a safety that tall.
Yeah, usually you're 6'1", 6'2", and that's good size for a safety. It's like, oh, you're 6'4". It's like, dang.
There are a few too many times where we saw the back of his jersey because he's chasing down people.
That's what I talk about. He's not the fastest or the most agile. Like he's not Randy Moss out there.
No,
but he's good enough. That's kind of the end point is, and he's better.
Getting help too. I think that there's some real talent around him back there that's going to help him out.
And ideally, you're not having your safety having to, cover everybody. Usually, they're the guy that provides help to other guys.
Yes.
Yeah. In an ideal world, I know some plays safeties have to do one-on-one coverage, but in a lot of cases they're supposed to be providing the help and sneaking up on wide receivers.
Right. Let's do this. Let's take a quick timeout here in the Full Court Press. When we come back, let's hear from Eli Wood You had a chance to visit with him, one of the new wide receivers for Utah State. Questions about what that wide receiver core will look like this season, but somebody who brings some interesting experience into the mix to help McKay Hillstead in this lethal passing game.
Yeah, lethal passing game. So that'll be next for us here on The Fan. Welcome back to the Full Court Press as we continue working our way through a lot of the content we got at Utah State Media Days. Our Media Day wasn't multiple days. We've spent days trying to get through all the content here on our show. We've played most of the highlights from the press conference portions, but we've been stopping and pausing to listen to the one-on-one interviews we did. We just heard from Brevin Hamblin. Eric had a chance to speak with him, and I had the chance to talk with Utah State wide receiver, transfer from Virginia, now Utah State receiver, Eli Wood. All right, so we're here with Eli Wood, Utah State wide receiver. First things first, just what was it that brought you to Logan? I can't remember if there was any overlap between you and Bronco.
No, sir, but my brother played for Bronco at UVA from 2020, 2021 era, and he spoke very highly of the staff. The staff did a lot for him and his development as a player and a person. And when I got up here, I really just fell in love with this staff. They showed to believe in me, and that's really all I wanted was an opportunity. So it was really a no-brainer for me once I got up here and saw the people that were in this program and how special those people were.
What's it kind of like in the wide receiver room? Because Utah State, like the fans saw last year, is a new wide receiver core. This year, it's kind of a similar thing where there's a lot of new faces. Just kind of take me inside, like what's it like being in a wide receiver room where most of the guys didn't know each other, in the spring, and just how have you guys developed as a room to be the best group of pass catchers?
So in this new landscape, that's going to be pretty common from year to year, depending on the team, and I think it just is on everyone in the room to come in together and grow from January to August and develop those connections off the field, and I think we've done a great job of that. This room is extremely close, and not only are we close off the field, but on the field as well, and everyone kind of brings a different element. I think we're going to be very explosive. We've got a bunch of different skill sets, and when you all mesh them into one and we all have the same goal in mind, I think it's going to be a pretty good product we can put out on the field.
So talk about different skill sets, but what do you feel like is your biggest skill sets? Because there's guys that are fast, guys that are maybe a bit bigger, possession receivers. What kind of archetype do you maybe fit yourself into?
I feel like I'm a bigger bodied receiver, but I can run all the routes. And at the end of the day, it just comes down to playmakers making plays. And I feel like when my number's called, I'm consistently making plays. And I'm really excited to put that on display this year, as well as everyone in the room. Everyone can make plays. We've got a quarterback who trusts us and is going to put the ball in the air. So it's our job to come down with it. And I'm really excited to show not only what I have, but our whole room has this year. I'm really excited for it.
So how about quarterback trust? Much like with the wide receivers, nobody really, quarterback and wide receivers didn't really know it. I know you probably would have known Grady, but with McKay being the starter, just how do you guys develop that trust over the course of just a few weeks, really?
Yeah, so we got a really special quarterback room. Obviously, I came with Grady. I know the type of player he is. Big, physical, great passer. And then McKay, obviously. I think those connections are developed in the extra work we put in. We talk about it all the time. And I think we've done a great job this offseason of growing that chemistry because, like you said, a lot of us are new, so it needs to be, picked up at a higher pace because we've only had 6 to 7 months together. So really dialing those connections on the field is important, and then just as important is learning your teammates off the field, which I think we've also done a really good job at. We are together every weekend, learning about each other, hanging out, and I think that connection is going to show on the field this year.
So I want to ask about Grady because I guess it was 2 years ago at Virginia. There was the Grady Bunch, that formation. I guess, was that mostly just kind of a fan favorite thing? Like just because you were there as well, right? So I'm trying to line up timelines. It's just like, we scored 4 touchdowns?
Yeah.
Just, 2 or 3 of them were like the tush push.
Yeah.
It's like, what was that kind of like having maybe a special formation?
Yeah, he brings a lot of versatility to the position. He's one of my best friends, and we've been living together for the past 4 years. And it was great to be able to live together in Logan as well. But yeah, the type of player he is, he's just gritty, tough, and he's a guy that you want in your corner. He's going to lay it on the line for you. And as receivers, as offensive linemen, running backs, we really respect that. And he's also just a grinder, one of the hardest workers on the team, and definitely an inspiration to me, and always pushes me to be better. And we've gotten pretty close, so we have those conversations of what can I do better, what can you do better, and it's special. And I think he's going to have a great role in this team. And he brings a lot of different elements. Like I said, he's a very physical runner. I get on him sometimes because I'm like, dude, you got to go on the ground. But he loves contact. He's tough. He's got a big arm. And yeah, it's when Grady's confident, he is definitely one of the better quarterbacks I've been around.
You think I know McKay's a starter. Do you think we'll see Grady in maybe a Grady Bunch style formation?
That's not for me to decide, but I'll just say that he's a great player, and I think his skill set, he definitely has some things to offer this year for sure.
McKay, he said this, as we were talking about earlier, so this can be a lethal passing attack, is where he uses lethal. Assuming he's right, and hopefully he is, what about the passing attack makes it lethal with him and the wide receivers?
I just think, McKay is one of the best passers I've ever been around, and we've built trust, like you've talked about, off the field this offseason and on the field. And I mean, we just got playmakers out wide. Like, we're gonna go get the ball, he's gonna put it up, and we're gonna come down with it. And it's not like I think, he knows that, and we love him having that trust in us, and it's our job to go make plays. We got, Rex Haynes, Anthony Garcia, Demeek Sterling coming back off of ACL, Kinda Watson, Nico Boncori, Javon Robinson, and there's others, but everyone's talented, everyone's explosive, and we have a confidence about us for sure. And I'm really excited to play with these receivers.
What are those? My last question here. What are the biggest things you're just looking forward to this season, kind of individually? What are the things you want to accomplish?
I mean, I came here to win a Pac-12 championship. That's important to me. That's a goal of everyone on this team. I think we're more than capable of doing that, but it's going to take us showing up each day like we did all off season, and regardless of what has happened in the past, just resetting and trying to get better, 1% better every single day. And I think the sky's the limit for this team. I truly think that, and I'm just excited to take the field with these boys because we've been working so hard. And I think we have all the talent we need, and we're capable of putting together a really strong season.
Thank you so much, Eli.
Yep.
So that's another player that I had on my preseason. Well, it's always preseason. My May newcomers to watch list. Eli Wood didn't do much for about 3.5 seasons, but last 6 games of the 2025 season, he caught a pass in every one of those 6 games. 12 catches overall for like almost 200 yards, I think. Caught a touchdown, and I think was a solid contributor in their bowl game as well, where a decent chunk of that production came in the bowl game. So he's someone who's been waiting his turn, got kind of a glimpse of that at the back end of this last season for Virginia, but I think he's going to be a big contributor for the Aggies this upcoming season.
Yeah, somebody who may not have a ton of reps, a lot of experience, a lot of stats, but here's a guy who has benefited from development and training at a significant program at a significant level, and gets to come and now it's his opportunity to shine and contribute on the field. And we've seen a lot of great case studies that prove that can be pretty special. Guys that have a similar path like he has when they finally get that chance at Utah State.
Yeah, just give them a chance to perform, and what do you know? It turns out they're actually a really good player.
Yes.
Let's take a break, though. We'll have one last segment here. We'll get to Pick 6. The 6 things that we think will happen over this coming weekend.
Definitively, that will happen.
Yeah, definitely. We will be right on every single one of these.
Yes.
Definitely. That always happens. That's coming up next here on the Full Court Press. We're back here on the Full Court Press looking to wrap things up on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM The Fan, streaming online at 1069thefan.com. We haven't usually had time to play the fancy little liner here, but maybe it's actually time. Oh, wait a minute. What the heck happened? The B bar is all messed up.
It gets squished and moved around when you squeeze
Well, it's
the
also
screen.
just on the wrong one. So let's get to pick 6.
Before the end of the day. No way.
It's the Full Court Press Pick 6.
Ever since March Madness ended, I am so bored.
6 things we think will happen this weekend.
I don't know how the whole betting thing started, but it's fun.
B-Bar was on the Skyview Sports one, but it's pick 6. We can play our fancy liners again.
There we go.
We've got 6 lines, 3 from me, 3 from Eric. Eric's also got a 7th line, the PAT, so to speak, talking about pick 6. And Eric gets to do that because he won last week, and he also gets to pick who goes first.
I'm going to defer. I'm going to allow you to go first this time.
All righty, I'll kick that way. So my first line, total points in tonight's Hall of Fame game, Panthers and Cardinals. The line, Vegas set one for me, 34.5. So I'll just take theirs, total points in this game.
I'm going to take the under.
All right. I'm going to take the under as well. IndyCar, they were at Portland this weekend. David Malukas, he's second in the point standings, though he doesn't have a win in his career in IndyCar. His finish in the race at Portland, over under 3.5.
I'm gonna say, I'll say under.
All right, I wanted to take under, but I'll take over.
Okay.
And then Ngeka Ogumake, I had to practice saying her name. She plays for the LA Sparks. How many combined points and rebounds will she have against the Minnesota Lynx tonight? Over under 24.5.
I'll take the over.
All right, I'll take the under.
I have no idea. Okay.
All right, over to you.
We'll see how well you do on mine. Okay. Bryson Barnes. He's up there in the Canadian Football League, playing for the Ottawa Red Blacks.
Is he starting?
It's not starting.
He gets in every now and again.
But he has been getting in every now and then. So, combined yards for Bryson Barnes. This could be passing, rushing, receiving, I guess. It's an option. So, his combined total yards in their game against the Saskatchewan Roughriders, 20.5.
I'll take the under.
I'm going to take the over. Okay, Utah Royals. They are going to be taking on the Denver Summit FC, the National Women's Soccer League. And so Utah Royals over Denver by 1.5 goals.
I'll take the under.
I'll take the over. And then stolen bases on Sunday in the Astros at Padres baseball game. So this is for both teams on NBC on Sunday night. So it's a featured highlight game. So combined stolen bases from both teams, 1.5.
I'll take the over.
Okay, I'll take the under.
All right. And what is the tiebreaker?
And then our tiebreaker for this week, NASCAR. They're in action this week. NASCAR Cup Series. They're in Iowa. So Denny Hamlin, his finish. Where will he finish? I've set the line at 5.5.
I have no clue how well Denny Hamlin's doing this season.
He's won some races.
Most racers have.
Well,
actually, not
he
probably
had a
not most
string
racers.
there where he won a bunch, but he hasn't won the last couple.
I'll take the under.
Okay, then I've got the over.
All right, that gives Eric the over.
Yeah.
Last few minutes here. Talk about the Hall of Fame game. Eric didn't want to talk about the Hall of Fame game, but I'm going to make him talk about the Hall of Fame game. My question is, because we get this, basically NFL fans become starved for football, and really a lot of fans, because like this is the first like organized football game of the year for basically everyone, unless there's high schools that start this early, which maybe they're out there.
No offense to the UFL, no offense to the CFL, but since the Super Bowl, we've had kind of this long drought.
Yeah, there's no college football. This is our first taste of football. But like, does it? I don't know. It's basically like when a starving person eats a rotten sandwich. That's the Hall of Fame game. Like, it is just not really worth watching. Mind you, I will be watching it, but that's mainly because I'm going to be at Buffalo Wild Wings tonight, and it'll be on. So my head will turn that direction.
You will casually observe what is taking place.
But it's like, it's names that nobody's going to remember. Like, there are some people who, like, you get really deep into the draft, or you follow all the NFL rosters. Yeah, you'll know some of these names and be like, oh, I recognize that guy because he played at some such college or whatever. But like, like if there was a Utah State player participating in this, I probably would have missed it. Because like, it's just, I don't know. But it also vaguely reminds me of one time I was listening to, it was actually a program here that you can hear on the Fan, Two Pros and a Cup of Joe, where it's two former NFL players and a guy who's just more into the NFL than anything else. And they said, unironically, that they would rather watch NFL preseason than the NBA finals.
Wow.
And I was like, that is disgusting behavior.
Yeah, you got to be a real diehard to really love and get excited for the Hall of Fame game. But it is the start, right?
Really, any NFL preseason game, because like these are games that just half the teams don't even play their starters at all in the preseason.
No, this is a game for the real sickos who want to see what the second and third and fourth string options look like.
These are the people who get really into following who's going to make a roster or not. That's what these games are for.
Yeah.
Because a bunch of teams don't even play. You used to get like they'd play like half a game or most of like one of the 4 games. Now there's only 3 of them. That's why they got rid of one of them, partially.
Yeah, a lot of the guys who will start tonight probably won't even be on the roster when the season begins.
Yeah, and a lot of the guys that are going to start week 1, they won't see the field.
Yeah.
So,
but it's a chance to watch some football. It's the NFL.
It's football.
It's Carolina and Arizona.
It's probably
some very underwhelming teams.
It's probably higher quality football than the UFL or whatever they're calling it these days. Because those are the guys that couldn't even make NFL camp rosters.
No, that's true.
That's who's in the UFL.
But 6:00 tonight on NBC for those who wanted to chime in.
So right now, basically,
or ready to kick off,
or in like 5 minutes, because NFL can never start on time.
No, they got to do their introductions and their storylines.
Yeah, all this other stuff. But there they are, starting in just a few minutes. But that's going to do it for us today. Thanks so much for listening. We'll be back tomorrow on Friday to help preview the weekend here on the Full Court Press here on the Fan.